Just off the Tanzanian coastline lies an island utopia. Gardens of coral decorate its waters, while mangrove forests line the land. These diverse habitats provide homes for a multitude of creatures, living above the water and below. And when the time is right, a mysterious being rises from the deep to feed in the rich waters. This is Mafia Island. In the warm water of Africa's east coast, an ancient, secretive ocean wanderer is arriving. Little is known about where it came from, how old it is, or where it will disappear to. When it does emerge, it's only for brief moments, before vanishing once again. The whale shark. At up to 20 tons, these are the biggest fish on the planet. They're as mystical as they are beautiful. There are few places on Earth where whale sharks regularly gather to feed. One of them is in the waters between the coast of Tanzania and a small island called Mafia. Here they find an ocean larder, well stocked thanks to both Mafia's particular position and its delicately balanced habitats. At just under 50 kilometers long, Mafia Island is a mere blip in the ocean. It sits 20 kilometers from where the Rufiji River flows into the sea from the mainland. This great river has a catchment area covering 20% of Tanzania, and it transports huge quantities of nutrient-rich water to the sea. A current from the south carries these nutrients northward. The prevailing winds from the north push back on this flow. This creates a bottleneck of highly concentrated nourishment that feeds plankton on a huge scale. The island does more than just cultivate a food-rich area. It provides the necessary conditions for varied habitats to thrive. These exist in delicate balance, exchanging sustenance and protection on all scales. From the smallest life to entire environments, feeding and guarding each other. Each habitat and inhabitant forms a piece of a puzzle, taking its place to contribute to the plenty of the island's ecosystem. Once a month, with the arrival of the full moon, the last piece falls into place. The alignment of the sun, moon, and earth triggers extreme sways in the tides known as spring tide. This movement between the sea's very highest and lowest flushes the rich system with even more nutrients. Many of Mafia's marine creatures take advantage of this time to spawn. And when the whale sharks visit during the summer months, they find waters inundated with fodder. For these rare and enigmatic creatures, the island provides a special bounty, and reason enough to show themselves at the surface to feed. As a small landmass surrounded by sea, much of Mafia Island's life is influenced by the tides. And spotted jellyfish are no exception. With a rising tide, they move into the shallows above beds of seagrass. Here, they pulse through the water, feeding on plankton. Recent studies have shown that theirs is the most energy-efficient swimming technique of any animal. Most jellyfish have one mouth opening, but spotted jellyfish have several on their club-like tentacles that ingest their microscopic prey. While the jellyfish move through the water, others wait for the plankton to come to them. These brittle stars have been lying in the muddy ground of the mangrove forests, awaiting their cue. Now, as the tide floods their home, they leap into action, using their arms to catch plankton suspended in the rising water. More than 17 square kilometers of Mafia Island are composed of these mangroves. The sea completely inundates them on the high tide and drains them on the low. These trees are specially evolved to grow in their two-faced environment, tolerating salt quantities that would kill most other plants. This is partly thanks to their ability to excrete excess salt from their leaves. But like all leaves, they have a limited life. When they die, they fall straight into the ocean, adding nutrients to the water as they decompose. These nutrients, in turn, feed the growth of plankton, the base of the oceanic food chain, fodder for a multitude of creatures. But the effect of the mangroves goes further than nutrient recycling. They play a crucial role in maintaining a suitable environment for one of the island's epicenters of life. Coral reefs thrive in the water surrounding Mafia. They require the sun's light to photosynthesize, and clear water is essential. The mangrove forests trap sediment in water running off the island, ensuring the coastal sea doesn't become murky. But this isn't all the reefs need. The water must be shallow enough for the sunlight to reach them and stay between 20 and 32 degrees Celsius. With warm waters under a tropical sun, Mafia Island provides all the necessary conditions for a reef to thrive. And where there's a reef, there are fish. The reef repays the mangrove's favor by absorbing the energy of ocean swells. This means the waters on the coast are calm, and the mangroves can grow without being battered by waves. But the relationship doesn't stop there. The open ocean is a dangerous place for juvenile reef fish. The mangroves provide the fish with a safe nursery in the form of their unconventional roots, called pneumatophores. Unlike the roots of most plants, most of these grow above the ground. This prevents the mangroves from suffocating in the oxygen-deprived mud when the tide recedes. They also store air in specialized sacs that allow the tree to breathe when they're submerged. These roots form labyrinths, too intricate for big predators. They are safe havens for the juvenile fish, which also find plenty of food in the rich water. In order for this mutually beneficial relationship between swamp and reef to persist, the mangroves must reproduce. For this, trees like the mangrove apple rely on being pollinated by creatures that live on the island, including one particularly charismatic character. Comoros lesser fruit bats are among the few wild mammals living on the island. Also called flying foxes, they are common on the tropical islands of the Indian Ocean. They can fly hundreds of kilometers over the sea to colonize new outposts. With relatively few predators and an abundance of tropical plants for food, they thrive here. And they're important pollinators of the island's fruiting trees. Most of the plants they eat from only flower and produce nectar at night. So they spend their days hanging from trees in large colonies. The colony is ruled by an intricate social system consisting of dominant males and their harems of females. Stepping out of line can result in severe reprimanding from senior males. These social dynamics limit the number of bats sharing a tree. And while the island has no shortage of trees, only some are used for roosting. These are low enough to be protected from strong winds by the island's topography, but high enough to take advantage of updrafts for easy takeoffs. With only a few suitable roosting trees on the island, the bats' population is limited by space. But enough live here to fill their important pollinating role. By contributing to the health of the mangrove forests, the fruit bats also have an indirect benefit on the island's most densely populated environment of all. With the favorable conditions for growth, the coral reef is an underwater metropolis, teeming with life and color. More than 460 species of fish and 52 species of hard coral have been identified here. Like the bat roosts, the only limiting factor here is space. And the corals have a range of strategies for claiming the most. Some grow outward, colonizing as much ground as possible in huge plates. The aptly named lettuce coral uses this strategy while also growing in folds to maximize surface area for catching microscopic prey. For others, growing upward toward the light and then outward is the chosen strategy. Staghorn coral is among the most successful of these. It's one of the quickest growers on the reef. and it provides shelter for many of the reef's smaller swimmers. While some hide, a model Toby's skin is covered in toxic mucus to discourage predators. This allows him to wait in the open for passing females. It's not only small fish that use the coral for cover. A coral rock cod lurks beneath the activity, waiting for unsuspecting prey. While some hide from one another, the reef also acts as a meeting place for big and small. These cleaner shrimp make their living by providing a service for other inhabitants of the coral. They eat dead tissue and parasites off larger fish. This is their meal ticket, and they rely heavily on the reef system to get it. The shrimp set up shop at designated zones known as cleaning stations. They wave their long antennae to advertise they're open for business. After their displays have attracted a customer, they get to work. And one of their favorite patrons is another permanent feature of the reef. Moray eels are rarely sighted swimming out in the open ocean. Instead, they wait patiently in the coral for their prey. Their invertebrate-crushing jaws could easily bite through a human finger bone, let alone a thinly armored crustacean. This makes cleaner shrimps the world's bravest dentists. While the shrimps offer a service to individuals, there's a creature here that helps regulate the whole reef system. Hawksbill turtles are part of a group of reptiles that have been in the oceans for the last 100 million years. They're the only marine creatures with diets consisting mainly of sponges. Sharp, narrow bills allow them to access these in the reef's narrow nooks and crannies. In doing so, they clear access to shelter and food for smaller reef fish. As the turtle takes from one sphere of reef life, it provides for another. These swimmers effortlessly glide through the reefs, expending minimal energy. They undertake enormous migrations from feeding grounds to breeding beaches, with one recorded to have traveled an astounding 6,000 kilometers across the Indian Ocean. A hawksbill turtle's shell protects it from most predators. By staying close to the ocean floor, they avoid exposing their softer underbellies. But they can't stay down there forever. Every few minutes, they must ascend to the surface to breathe. This is where they're most vulnerable. By taking rapid, explosive breaths, they're able to minimize their surface time, ensuring that they can descend to the safety of the ocean floor. But even at the bottom, turtles may not be invulnerable to the impact of humans. This green sea turtle has been killed by a blast fishing explosive. This method of fishing uses explosives to kill up to 400 fish in a 20-meter radius. And it has devastating effects on the coral too. These old craters face the full force of fishermen's dynamite and will continue to bear the scars for years to come. Blast fishing is now illegal here, as Mafia Island is part of a marine protected area encompassing 822 square kilometers. It's the biggest conservation area of its kind in the Indian Ocean and will safeguard the health of the reefs for generations to come. Luckily for Mafia's whale sharks, not all of the fishing techniques are as destructive. Whale sharks and the people of Mafia rely on a shared habitat to obtain their food. And it's when humans venture into the ocean to fish that these two worlds collide. As soon as the sun breaks the horizon, fishing vessels begin to leave the island. Fishing is an important facet of life on Mafia. And it's something that the local inhabitants are particularly adept at. As soon as a catch has been made, much excitement pervades the water. Using giant nets, the fishermen corral their quarry into a concentrated center. With only rudimentary equipment, they then begin to tighten the nets. These men grow up on the water and are as comfortable below it as they are above, holding their breath for minutes at a time. Showing poise and expertise, they herd the catch to a point from which it can be extracted. But there is something else inside the net. The fishermen have caught 2 whale sharks. The catch becomes a site of commotion, with humans, sharks, and smaller fish all stuck inside. But the tumult is relatively short-lived. The fishermen aren't after the sharks and quickly guide them out of the nets. The sharks are left free to wander their ocean habitat undisturbed once again. These creatures are notoriously mysterious. One unknown is how long they live. Theories range from 60 to 100 years. All of the individuals around Mafia are juveniles. When they reach 30 years of age, they disappear. Where they go, nobody knows. The overwhelming majority of whale shark sightings are of males, and nobody can really explain why. The only place that females are regularly sighted is the Galapagos Islands of the Pacific Ocean, 14,500 kilometers away as the crow flies. It's believed that these females give birth somewhere in the deep central Pacific Ocean. A female can have hundreds of embryos in its uterus at different stages of development, and all sharing DNA from the same father. This suggests to scientists that females can store male sperm, fertilizing their own eggs as they produce them. While they occur in tropical oceans around the world, these gentle giants are only seen when they rise to the surface to feed. Specimens tagged off the Saudi Arabian coast have been recorded diving as deep as 1,300 meters. It's the circulation of food sources that seems to dictate their movements. Whale sharks are filter feeders. When the ocean is primed with plankton, they'll suck vast quantities of it through their mouths at a high velocity and expel any excess water through their gills. For this to work effectively, whale sharks are dependent on dense collections of plankton. These thrive in the nutrient-rich waters off Mafia's coast. And when the full moon arrives, it'll spur a further boost to the shark's food. The full moon will trigger a mass spawning event, with reef life releasing billions of eggs and sperm into the water. Scientists debate the reasons for this, some arguing that the extreme sway of the tides helps to disperse the fish eggs. Others arguing that moonlight helps trigger nocturnal spawning migrations. Whatever the exact reason, the full moon spawning adds to the banquet for the sharks. The reproduction of Mafia's reef life directly feeds the whale sharks. But for the whale sharks to feast here year after year, all pieces of the Mafia Island puzzle must be present to play their part. For the fruit bats, ensuring the colony's future means taking advantage of a short mating season between April and June. A male slowly and deliberately approaches a female. She turns to face him. And mating soon begins. Bat relations involve much biting and aggressive interplay, and can last for several minutes. These are no easy conditions for mating. hanging upside down requires much stability, especially in an acrobatic embrace. Unlike the billions of eggs released from the reefs, fruit bats produce only one offspring per female per year. But the island environment, with its few predators and abundant fruit, will give the colony the best chance of persevering. As evening begins to set in, the bats leave the roost to forage under the full moon. And they're not the only ones preparing for a busy night. Ghost crabs will also cash in on long hours of bright light for finding food, and use the last light of day to tend to their burrows. These they dig up to 1 meter deep in the sand of Mafia's beaches. Fascinatingly, while females scatter their sand in a haphazard way, males form neat piles. They must keep their gills moist to breathe, and a dip in the sea is the easiest means. With the spring low tide tonight, the crabs will have large tracts of beach to explore for food. As the sun sets on another day on the island, the calm of evening belies the night of furious activity ahead. On a cloudless night, the sky above Mafia is flooded with the bright light of the full moon. The night is charged with change. And the next morning has a particular importance for a female ghost crab. At the high spring tide, she carries her clutch of eggs along the beach. She's been waiting for this moment to deposit her precious cargo. The spring tide's rapidly receding water will quickly carry her larvae out to sea. They'll drift for 4 to 6 weeks before those that survive return to the beach. It's a big load, but she methodically moves up and down the beach, laying at regular intervals. As the day goes on and the tide turns, it drains the land to its lowest point, leaving the mangroves desiccated. And this provides an opportunity for the island's herons. The rapid rate at which the water recedes during spring tide ensures that many of the fish that took shelter in the mangroves are trapped on the way out. Herons are quick on the uptake. They stalk the shallow mangrove root systems, striking quickly at trapped juvenile fish. This picking off of the unlucky few is a welcome treat for the herons, but it has nothing on the day's real feast. At last, all has come together for the whale sharks. The spring tides of the full moon have drained the mangroves to boost the nutrients of the coastal waters, feeding plankton growth. The overnight fish spawning has inundated the water with eggs and sperm. And these enormous filter feeders are cashing in. They take to the upper surface of the ocean, ploughing through the vast plankton accumulations. They maneuver their giant bodies with effortless zeal. Their gills act like a sieve, trapping anything smaller than 2 millimeters in diameter. Excess water is expelled, and this minuscule food source is kept inside. Whale shark feeding is an intricate underwater dance, measured and graceful, yet at the same time, rapid and impactful. The Mafia Island ecosystem is a productive arena, primed with life. Its plenty relies on the delicate balance of its environments. Forest, reef, and swamp all depend on each other to thrive. Once a month, their rich life springs into full force with the arrival of the full moon. For the whale sharks, this means a feast worthy of ascending from the ocean's depths. Their food may be too small for our eyes to see, But there's enough of it in these waters to satisfy these placid giants. Here, they benefit from the bounty of a world bathed in tropical sunshine. A world where land and water meet to provide the gifts that no ocean depths can.